Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about Prince Andrew today, his lies and grandiosity. Before we get into that though, I just want to let everyone know that this is actually going to be a much shorter version of a longer, uncensored version that is going to go up on my Rumble and my Odyssey and my NCTV, which is nicecrew.tv. Go there, make sure you search for my name, Rate Experiment, you'll find my channel. Same with the other alt tech platforms. So make sure you bookmark those, guys, because I can speak freely there. I don't have to self-censor. And I think you'll want to go listen to that longer version. But I'm going to put this short one up on my YouTube just to let everybody know that they can go watch the longer version of this. And I hope you do. But real quick, I want to show you this article from yesterday. Prince Andrew urged to speak to FBI after third friend convicted of this thing that is awful. So they're saying that, Andrew's facing renewed calls to speak to the FBI after another one of his friends, the third friend, was convicted of, a teenage sex crimes, basically. And so I don't believe that that's going to happen. I'm sure you guys don't believe it either, but I'm going to real quick briefly bring up this clip. So this is from, I'm sure everybody remembers the infamous 2019 BBC interview that Prince Andrew did that was really just amazing, I think, in its and how awful he came off in this interview, how arrogant he appeared, and just all of the lies that he told. It was so bad. Yeah, so I want to talk about this. We're gonna play a little bit of this.
I don't know why I've collected that title, because I never have really partied.
Yeah, so just exposing his lies. I've never partied. And then you go and you look and you can find and this is the thing, anyone could go look it up and find tons of pictures of him partying. I mean, so the kinds of lies he tells is remarkable, number one. And number two, the way in which he tells them, how he does it throughout the interviews, just lie after lie after lie. And then when he gets caught in a lie, he'll just kind of like deflect to something else, or he'll mention an erroneous detail as if it somehow matters or makes a difference. And he has a number of names. He was called Randy Andy. Like, you don't get that nickname unless there's a reason, right? Randy Andy. He was also called Air Miles Andy due to his penchant for taking helicopters to places that he could have just driven to. And this is presumably on the British taxpayer dollar. He was known to be his mother's favorites of her son. So he was a favorite son, allegedly, and just very spoiled, entitled, arrogant. He has also been described by people who knew him and grew up with him as having, this need to correct other people all the time due to this, what is a sense of superiority, but is also inferiority complex. So they feel superior but inferior at the same time, and the desire to correct people is to assert control over them, and he would do this in a very demeaning way. He's described as, being very stupid, thinking he knows better than everybody else. You can see throughout the interview his general lack of self-awareness. He's described as throwing temper tantrums, lying without regard. You'll also see throughout the interview, and I go over the interview in the longer form video, his constant claims of not remembering things when it's convenient, but then remembering other things in great detail when those things benefit him. Andrew is somebody that has an exaggerated need for attention, admiration, and validation. Like all narcissists, nothing is ever good enough for them. They're very self-referential, so the way that they see the world is with themselves at the center of it, basically. They're the center of the world. They're the center of the universe. It's very self-absorbed. But they also, while they're grandiose, and they'll be very bragging, and he does that throughout the interview. He brags about, I talk about it in the longer video when he does this. He inserts these like anecdotes that where he's trying to highlight his accomplishments and achievements, or like his philanthropy, and it's breathtaking. You can tell he has a lack of responsibility, doesn't take responsibility for anything. His blame-shifting behavior throughout the deflecting, his lack of boundaries, lack of empathy throughout this. He's even asked if he could give a message, you know, if he could speak to Virginia Giuffre, what he would say to her. He said he has nothing to say to her, so there's no remorse. He doesn't feel guilt about anything. He didn't have any, you know, he didn't apologize to her. I'm sorry for what happened to you. Even if he didn't want to admit his own guilt in that situation, he could have said, I'm sorry for what, you know, Ghislaine and Jeffrey put you through. They also, these narcissists they use emotional reasoning. You can see that throughout the interview. But they have deep feelings of inadequacy, and they have fears and anxieties. They tend to feel like a lot of shame about certain things, and narcissists have the inability to be like truly vulnerable with people. So I think that's very sad. You can tell too, you hear his patronizing and demeaning tone throughout the interview, his attempts to manipulate the conversation, manipulate the question, assert control over the interviewer, the woman Emily who's interviewing him, his vanity, his cockiness, his belief that he is unique and special. You know, oh, he was just too good for society. He was just too honorable. And that's why, you know, he didn't break the relationship with Jeffrey sooner. It's because he's just too, don't you know, just too good of a person, which I thought was an amazing thing for him to say. Narcissists of the grandiose type tend to desire high status, you know, but they also kind of live in a fantasy world that supports their delusions of grandeur, right? Like they will engage in self-deception, so they will trick themselves about how they feel about themselves, and then they'll engage at times in magical thinking and haughty behavior. They'll have these self-glorifying fantasies. So like narcissists will have fantasies that like they're gonna be one day super like successful. They're gonna be the top, you know, whatever, salesman or whatever it is that they do, lawyer, you know, they're going to be like number one. They're going to be super successful, or they have, you know, these fantasies of being super wealthy. Or for somebody like Andrew, who may already be super wealthy because he's a member of the royal family, he already has kind of prominence in that way. You know, they have these fantasies that they're smarter than everybody else. They're secretly brilliant. Or they have fantasies of being super attractive. These are just self-glorifying fantasies that help further the delusions of grandeur. They have constant need for praise and admiration because they need fuel, and that can be positive or negative, but they have to have a constant stream of attention and applause, right? To keep their ego inflated, because actually they're so fragile and they have such feelings of like low self-worth and you know, things like that. They need this constant excessive praise and admiration to feel good about themselves. They need the people around them to be able to anticipate and meet their needs. And if they don't, then they get discarded. They see people really as like tools that are useful or not useful to them. And of course, they exploit others without guilt or shame. And that's evident through Andrew's behavior throughout this entire interview that I analyzed. So I hope you guys go watch the longer form video on that. And that's it for today. Bye.